Yeah.
So we can be shown, but it's always there's a spoken or written element to it anywhere in this world. So ultimately, we've got to look at language structure. And shortest language in this world is Sandwich Island. There's 12 letters to it, I think. So you can't make many words from 12 letters. Now, if we look at this language, what we pretend we're saying, speak in English when we're not, when we're using 26 letters. But if we look at Tataria, longest language in the world, and there's 202 letters to that structure. So if you look at 26 to 202, it's like 15 to 20% of words what we're given compared to what's out there. So as much as we think we're understanding each other, we're really not, and that's why there's many misinterpretations. Ultimately, they're misinterpretations. If English people who say they speak English argue, or Italian people that speak Italian say they argue, or then what happens when France writes to Germany? How much misinterpretations is there going to be when they're only given 15 to 20% at language in the same manner? But ultimately, the fraudulent misuse in grammar is the seed, what is the start of everything. So we've gone on many journeys in our life. We've not stopped, and we've started from being very, very young, just through his own intuitions and gifts, what we're really blessed of, even to this day. So we're only trying to make this world equal in some manner, because the difference between man and woman ultimately is knowledge. So we believe that if we share our knowledge and we can make man and woman equal, then one man and woman stand and person and corporations forgotten about, and then we can start to see these fuckers stand in dock as man and woman and not hide behind some fictitious character that's written down on a piece of paper. Then that's the way that we're going to do it. But you see, for people to take back sovereignty from Parliament, ultimately, we need to know who we are. And it's hard to explain to you on a phone call or a Zoom who we are in this corporate world of paper and words written on a piece of paper with no disclosure of definition, rule, punctuation, or what the fuck you mean. It's just ridiculous for us to even think we can understand each other. So if we can start teaching people to write in a correct manner, then that means that we're not going to have no misinterpretations. We're not going to start fighting. We're going to create peace, not war. So if everything, so on these long journeys that we've had from being young, you can imagine we've been down many and we've not stopped on this. This has just been our journey and our choice, right? Then we realised it were about, going back probably about 12 years now, 11, 12 years now, we realised that it don't matter which segment you want to go into in this world, we've got to strip it back to its seed and its basic formation to remove complexity and to get a real understanding. So when we do that with everything, then when we strip it back, if it's only taught by words written or orally emit, then it's the grammar is the seed. So for the last 12 years, we've looked at this grammar because as the seed, we need to stop it growing, or we need to grow his own seed and make a nice rose instead of a fucking weed, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So if we can go back to this special delivery, what we keep saying, the word special is the only word in law that means private. So there's a difference between public and private, for example. If we as man and woman, a lot of people come to us and say, how do we get it private? How do we get it private? And I'll say to them, well, you're already in private. Look in your wallet, there's a private Bank of England note in it, and that's exactly what you're carrying. And whatever you're spending them, you're going to be considered as a taxpayer. So people get wrong ends. So what we need to be is, we need to be in public as man and woman, but we need to do as business in private. So when we learn the difference between business in private in a corporate paper world, then we've got to look in basic manner that what constitutes as public and what constitutes as private. And that's three things for each. So public, you'd have a white document. Public, you'd use a first-class stamp, second-class stamp, or recorded delivery. You'd use Mr. John Smith or Mrs. Jane Smith. It'd be a Crown copyright owned name or title. That's the public. In the private, you would use brown envelope. You would address.
That's true.
You would address man before full colon Andrew full stop. You would address man, or you would address like Andrea. It'd be full colon Andrea full stop. There's no fiction after it, no surname. No slave you remain name, because when a family name is hereditary, it's not given to us. Only a Christian calling is given to us, or what were given to us. So this is why
you say of the family.
If my mum and dad gave me Andrew, how can they give me Andrew? They can't hold Andrew in its hand. It's just a word started in the mind as a thought. So that's why it's a hearsay calling. You know, it was the government that writ it down, no one else. It was the Crown Corporation, someone acting for that wrote it down, because it can't act for itself. It's a corporation. So Brown is what makes it private. Addressing man or woman in correct capacity. So, for example, we could even have :John, :Smith, full stop, because a full colon would act as a propositional phrase. So the first full colon would be for the John, and then the second full colon would mean of the Smith, which would quite simply separate them to Christian calling given, hereditary family calling. It would separate them two facts. But where government write them two facts together, John Smith, well, they've just created a fiction, because in grammar, when you have two facts together, they negate each other and modify each other. How we could explain that is, if we had a pen in his hand, we'd have a pen. Well, we'll use this lighter. We've got a lighter in his hand. So, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yep.
So a lighter is a fact, but the colour yellow also is a fact. So if we had yellow, the colour, in his left hand, and the lighter, transparent, in the other hand, then we've got two facts, haven't we? Colour yellow and lighter. Once we add them together, they now negate each other by modifying each other and cancelling each other's fact out, because it now becomes a yellow lighter, or a lighter that's yellow. So it's no longer yellow, and it's no longer just a lighter. So when you have a hereditary family calling and a given Christian calling, it's just like that yellow and that lighter. When government add them together, then them two facts cancel each other out, and they've just created a fiction. And as you know, in their world, you can't admit a fact, Jedi. So makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So the third principle, so the brown envelope and the addressee of being correct manner, would be a special delivery, because, as we said, the word special is the only word in law that means private. So that's how you do private business, and first three steps is how you do public. So what we've got now is we've got a vessel with cargo that's become goods, but it's also paid its fee to be transported on postal roads and shipping lanes, isn't it? Now, when that ID comes back to us, we claim jurisdiction at document because it's thumbprint over stamp and not some corporate post office stamp. Our poll, our seal, which is this, is on the stamp. And this is what a real autograph is. And this is what a real signature is, because they're both exactly the same words, but no one does them. If we look at the word sign, well, that's my sign, and we've all got different signs, but they're of nature because we're nature. Now, if we look at the word autograph, well, the auto is the autonomous being, just like nature, and the graph is just like the sign. It's just a different word.
Okay, I hear you.
So no one really does autograph signature. They do what's called a cursive manner signature.
Cursive, yeah.
And a cursive manner signature null and voids all documents out. And that's because you can't have two fictions creating a contract it just can't happen, can it?
Cursive manner. So is a signature, when they ask you to print your name in capital letters, they ask you to affirm the fiction.
And they'll ask you in black as well. They'll make you do it in black.
Meaning you're dead.
Okay.
Legally dead.
Andrew, how do you feel about opening up the Q&A? Because I don't know how you are for time, but I think you got 25 minutes left. Is that true?
Yeah, man.
Okay, cool. I mean, look, we run till we run. So it's no rush on our behalf. But if you only have a set amount of time, we want to utilize it. And I want to bring in the question and answer section. So, guys,
Can I go first with one that I think a lot
you
of
can go.
people are?
Panelists, you lot can go first. But you lot in the chat, you've had loads of questions. What I meant to tell you was note down your questions. Now you can type the questions into the chat, and we'll try and go through as many as we can. Right? Big up yourself, JR. Patiently there. You saying? You good? Andrea?
Yeah.
Andrea, you all right? You're mute. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, I just took a phone call.
Okay.